Hey there YouTube, it's PD2 Finger. I just had some 9-gauge Ticos on this, and I just put 8s. These are Darco, so they're made by Martin. And this is supposed to be a quality string at a budget price. I paid $5 for these. It's a set of 8 gauge, 8 to 38. And like I had Tico 9s, which weren't bad. They were really cheap. These Darcos feel pretty good. You know, they do feel, they don't feel real, like something didn't look right with those Ticos. Something I could like see the windings in them. They looked a little discolored. These, I'm impressed with these. They're $5 a set. Now, I did have the Alice 537As or something. They were like gold. Maybe they had a coating. They were like $7 8-gauge strings. I really like those. I really like those 8s. I think I like those better than these. These are $2 less. I don't know. I got to see how long these last as opposed to the coating. The 537, the Alice's, those are my favorites. I think that's what I'm going to be. Well, maybe I'll try these Darco, see how they break in. But basically, as far as special tools, you know, I like to use a nice chopper. I have a electric drill. I have an electric drill, and I have manual screwdriver that I use for adjusting the claw. So I had 9s on here. I went to 8s. That means I had to do a half a turn on the claw screw for the whammy bar, because when I change the gauge strings, the whammy is supposed to be decked or floating. It's supposed to be up off of the guitar like it is now, and it was all the way down because I had changed string gauges, so it was less tension and it just plopped itself down. I want it floating, and right now it's kind of high. That's because I finished with the process of cleaning. I detune, I de-string, I clean my frets, and in that process I apply masking tape to cover the pickups, because I clean them using steel wool and a little protector. Protector pops over the fret, steel wool cleans it, but there's debris, and that debris can go in the magnets of your pickups, short them out and ruin them. And I've had pickups give out on me before, and I always religiously used steel wool and was messy with it. So you think what you want, and you know what? I'm here to tell you, I'm not up on some mountain like I'm the guitar tech pro and expert. Do how I do it. This is just, I'm just telling you what I did today. This is just what I. So I loosen them up. I have locking tuners on all my Strats, so you have to loosen these, and I'll use like a nice snips. If you're using these real AliExpress or Temu snips, it'll ruin the blades. So I use a legitimate old cutter. And once I get the strings out of there, you know, if you're going to be playing with the springs, just take this off. Get it off. That's where the electric screwdriver comes in handy. So the first thing is you loosen them up, and then you come in, snip, snip, snip. And then I'll come in, tapey time, tape up the pickups, so when I do use the steel wool, it doesn't break down. And those particles, because it goes all over. When you use the steel wool, there's a whole bunch of debris. Now, you say, well, why would you want to use steel wool on your frets? Well, it polishes them like new. And if you don't do that, it's not good. You want to, every time you replace the strings, you want to clean your frets. So I use these tools. There's 2 of them. This is the wide one, and there's a little skinnier one. You put that over the fret so the steel wool doesn't scratch up your fretboard, and then you do that. And when you're done, you got to get something to remove all this debris. Like I put down either a placemat or a piece of paper to catch all that steel wool debris. And then you'll see it's all stuck up on the tape that you taped off your pickups. So you remove all that first, remove the tape, then come in, put the mineral oil and rub that, massage that in with a paper towel. And then I like to use Barkeep Friend is a powdered cleanser and Q-tips, and I have Old Elmer's bottles with 90 IPA, isopropyl alcohol. So you put a little splash of juice and then a Q-tip. And I love brass saddles and brass blocks in my guitars. So these things get nasty. They get nasty, and you'll want to clean those every time, and it'll be black. I use those Q-tips with the powder cleanser, and if you don't have Barkeeper's Friend, you can use Comet. And again, this is just what I'm doing now. If you have a better way, tell me about it. Some people don't, it's like using steel wool isn't the best. If you have a Dremel and liquid polish in a tube that you apply that to the, they'll have a Dremel with a pad, and they put the cleanser, the metal polish on the pad, and then do it. It's however you want to do it. I started using the steel wool when I was a kid, and that's what I do. So I will set it up so that the holes in the tuners are facing up and down, and I'll loosen all the locks. I'll pop all the strings off, jig, go through and clean them. Well, I tape it up. Jig, clean them, and then rip the tape off after I clean the debris. Then I go through, a little bit of this, massage that in. I got my Q-tips going with my powdered cleanser, clean my saddles, and then here's magic trick. This is graphite lube. This is powdered black powder. And you squirt this on your chapstick, and then you fold the powder in. I use a hobby knife, and you'll whoop it up and make a little pat of cake in there until you got a nice special mix. And then you can put that glob of it, a booger of it on your finger, and just splooge it right into the nut, and then go and clean it up, get the excess off, so it's just filling in the gaps where the string sets are, the notches are. And then after I've really cleaned up my saddles, because I use that powder cleanser, and they'll be leftover. So with the leftover, you can go with a paper towel and some liquid on it, some more alcohol, and then I go with this to get the excess. So you want to make sure that you got the sides, on mine, the sides of the saddles are usually all black. Like there's just a lot of gunk. So once you've cleaned it all out and let it dry and cleaned it out again, because see, using a powdered cleanser and a liquid to clean that up, oftentimes you'll have residue that you won't know it's there until it's got a couple minutes to dry, and then it'll appear as a white stain, a residue. So once you get your saddles all clean, and you can go in and put a little boogie on your finger of that chapstick with the graphite in it, and you just glue that in to each of the ends of the saddles at the contact point where it comes over. So once and like I'll use car wax and a paper towel, 2 paper towels folded over, and I'll rub that into the paint. And then I have a dollar store. You got to clean this every few times with soap. But this is what I'll use to remove the wax after the wax is dried in. And once you've polished the frets, remove the tape for safety, polish the fingerboard, clean the saddles, applied the lube, then you're ready to start stringing. And if you're changing the gauge of strings, you're going to need to mess with the spring tension for the whammy. So just pop this off. You know, I have one of these magnetic stir dishes, magnetic bowl, screw bowl, and it mates with this candle holder really nicely. And this is what I serve Kita his treats in. So I always keep this nice and clean. But occasionally I use it when I'm, like if I'm restringing, I'll throw the screws in here, you know. Real handy thing to have. Again, you know, everybody has their own little things. Like I love using this, and when I get it all up to tune, I never manually do it. That's only this. Once it's up to tune, then I can manually it. And once I have the tremolo arm set, I will go a half step sharp. So if it's, I'll go 1 fret higher in pitch. There's the E, and then a half a pitch up all the way across. And that's when I'm done. When I tune it sharp, halfway, or a half a step up all across 6 strings, then I'm done and I'll set the guitar down. And what that will do, being sharp, the strings stretch overnight, and the next day when you pick it up, there's a good chance it'll be like perfectly in tune, and you can play it and the strings won't. If you don't do that, like if you just tune it up to concert pitch, you'll be playing it and it'll constantly need to be retuned because the strings stretch when they're new. So the way that I handle the break-in or stretch part of the restring process is to just, once I'm done getting it up to concert pitch, A440, I'll tune it a half a step up, and that's rough, depending on how I'm feeling. You know, as you get closer down here, like these are 8s, so you really want to be careful with them. Like, there's tricks that I do when I cut them, like initially to get it through, like the first big old honkin' E, I'll cut that extra thing off because it's easier for me to put the whole string through than that little part. And I don't like cutting it right at the base. Like, I'll cut it kind of long, and then I'll cut it so it can go around the next pole, but the next tuner, but just make it. And then when I'm done, I'll trim a little more off. So it's like, I don't go in right away and just cut it off right away. I don't do that. So that's the way I like to do it. Sometimes I'll take a needle nose once I got everything situated, and I'll bend the end of the string around up here so they're not poking out. I'll form them so they're down, they're not up. Because, like, if you ever got stabbed by a G, an unwound G, ow, that'll bleed. And if you bend them around, they're not pokey. So I'll use the needle nose. But again, when you're talking about 8-gauge strings and you're using a locking mechanism, all that pressure, you go bending the other side of it, you could break it. So this is, again, more for 9s doing that type of monkey business. But I did bend them around on my E and my A and my D. I bent them around a little bit on the G. It's actually really sharp and dangerous on this G. I was really concerned about breaking that G. So that, again, you know, I'm not a expert at this, but I've been doing it a while. I don't have a. I'm not like Steve Vai. I don't have a little version of myself that I've cloned to change my strings. Although, wouldn't it be nice? So it's always a good day when you get the chance to restring your guitar, and especially if it's a special time where you're going down a gauge in strings. It's like, oh, why am I working so hard, right? What a great day. He's excited. It's a magical day today, September 21st, the autumnal equinox. Some will argue and talk about the December solstice. Shame on you, naysayers. We don't worry about the December solstice when it's the autumnal equinox. What more would you want? It's the Feast of Trumpets. Need I say more? All right, you guys. Yeah, it's my birthday. Can you tell? I like to milk that for all it's worth. So, insult me and let me know how much of a horrible person I am for wasting your time on this Re-Stringin my Strat with 8s. Again, like these Darcos, I've never... Like, I used Darcos years ago, and they used to give you an extra skinny E string with them. And the joke was they would break, but because they would give you a replacement when it broke, it would be no big deal. You would just go, Darco's another string. That was the joke that Brad Hoff made. He was the guy who nicknamed me Two Finger. Brad Hoff, Brad Lee. I remember the first night I met him. He had me laughing so hard. I really liked this guy. I really liked him the first night I met him. I really liked him. And man, he wore out his welcome so fast. It's so annoying. So annoying with his puns and his crack smoking shenanigans. Unbelievably annoying guy. Who nicknamed me Two Finger Mother Effer. It was Brad Hoff who hung that one on me. Anyway, you guys, I'm not a Pro Techer expert. It's just how I do it. And I'm looking for recommendations on 8s. Have you tried the Alice 567 set, the gold ones? I think it's 567 XL or I forget exactly what they're called. They come in a cardboard box and they're some kind of light coating. They're not coated like elixirs. And the coating actually, it doesn't come off like the elixirs. The coating works. They stay fresh for a real long time. They're $7 though, but I'm telling you, those are the best 8s I've ever played. Those, I gotta tell you, they're my favorite guitar strings. So I don't know about like paying $5 for something. I don't know about these. They don't feel bad. I gotta see how long they last, but the difference between an uncoated set that I'm gonna be like indifferent about and a set they're coated that's gonna last longer, that's only $7, because they can last a whole season. You could keep them on 6 months, you know. So if it's only really like 2 sets a year I'm going to be going through. That's not that bad, you know. It really doesn't look like there is a good deal on 8s. You know, before COVID, there was they're called moge, M-O-G-E. It's a black package, like shiny foil type. It's black. M-O-G-E, moge, and they have 9s. And they were like, I got a whole 10-pack for cheap moge strings. I think they were only like, it was less, like considerably less, like $18, 17, $18 for 10 sets of these moges, and they're good. They honestly, I think the moges maybe felt. See, these are feeling sticky. They don't feel like they want to slide. Yeah, I don't know about these. They don't feel like 8s to me, you know. They feel like hard to play. The Alice, those 567s, the XLs, or are they 567A? I'm not sure. Those I absolutely love those. So I don't know. I'm gonna be like coming back to this. I hope. I really hoped I was gonna love these. We'll see how I feel about them after I break them in and what I say, but ultimately I don't think there is a deal on 8-gauge strings that I could find right now as of September 2025. Anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me on this one. I hope some of this information could be helpful. But again, I'm certainly not trying to elevate my position to be some type of an expert. So I'd be more than welcome to accept any of your tips, tricks, especially string recommendation, especially budget 8-gauge strings that you find playable and worth the money. But I mean, when Petey's talking budget, I'm talking like $7 is a lot to me. I realize how out of touch I am, but I'm still having faith that we can somehow turn this economy around, or either that, or just give everyone's job, give them raises, so we don't have to starve to death, so we can pay our bills. All right. Thank you. Hug your pets. I guess I should say, should we sing? No, I'm not going to sing happy birthday. Peace. That's what I always say. It's good enough.